Welcome to We Don't Have Cookies with your host, Jason Marshall.
Hey everybody, thanks for downloading the show. I got a great one for you today. My first guest is a former radio show host and was on season 19 of the CBS reality show Big Brother. It's Elena Davies. How you doing?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Me and my daughter just had a debate last night on how to say your last name.
Well, you nailed it.
Thank you.
What was the other option?
Davis.
I get Elena Davis a lot.
As soon as I said it, I thought, I am positive that is her name, but now I start to second guess it. So.
It's so funny because I think maybe it's just the fact that we're all humans and like face crippling self-doubt every single day. But no matter how right I feel like I am, the second that it's starting to happen, I start to question it. Like if somebody gives me their address and I go up to knock on the door, I'm like, I read the text. I'm like, yep, it says 2100. Okay. I go up to the door. I'm like, that says 2100. I'm like, let me triple check the text again. Yep, 2100. And then I still don't have enough bravery in me to knock on the door because what if it was a typo? What if it's 2100 on a different street? What if there's an east and a west? Like, I don't know. It's like, hey, I'm out.
How long were you on the radio?
I worked in radio for about 3 years before I got into the reality TV world.
When they were doing your intro for Big Brother, they called you an outspoken radio host. Did that outspokenness ever put you in any funny situations while you were on the air?
You know, unfortunately, it didn't. I worked for a very family-friendly show, and I wouldn't categorize myself as being a family-friendly person. So I feel like my humor really does fall in like the outskirts of what's safe for work and for children viewers. So I never really felt like I thrived in that environment. And I was always ultra cautious before I was on air. And it was a live show, syndicated. There were a lot of listeners. And I think I had more fear of getting in trouble than I did of wanting to show my humor. And I never really felt like my humor or my personality translated on air. And so yeah, I just played it really safe because it's a lot better to play it safe than get fined or fired.
Yeah,
neither are fun.
The FCC is nothing to mess with, but you can feel free to say anything you want on this show. We don't have those restrictions.
Yeah. It's my favorite thing to hear is like, feel free to say whatever you want. I'm like, yes, I would love to offend someone today. No, I'm just kidding, but actually not. But yeah, I was really careful about what I said, and that's no fun.
I'm a huge Big Brother fan. That's where I first saw you. And when they described you as a radio show host, I thought she's going to be fun to watch because I could just tell by looking at you. Maybe it was the Caitlin in me reading your aura. I don't know. If you don't watch Big Brother, that joke would over your head. But I'm sure that you were aware being on a primetime television show 3 nights a week for an hour for 3 months was going to change your life. But was there something that changed that you weren't expecting?
I certainly wasn't expecting a boyfriend. That was the main thing that I walked away with, that I was really surprised. And, if you watched me fight it the whole time too. Like, no, I did not come here for you. I came here for something else. You're in my way. Please move. And it turns out that's the only thing I got. But yeah, it definitely didn't play out like I thought it was going to. I have way more love than I was expecting. I also have way more hate than I was expecting. I haven't watched our show back. I don't have it in me yet. I need another refill of my Xanax prescription, and then I can maybe muster up the courage to power through 60 episodes of cringeworthy television that includes me. So I don't know how I was portrayed based on anything other than just like what family, friends, and fans have shared with me. And I'll say kind of the same thing that I said about the radio thing, is that I don't think it translated. I don't think my personality and my humor translated to television. I think if you watched live feeds, you saw my humor and who I was and my funny moments and quirks and stuff. But as much content that Big Brother puts out 3 nights a week for an hour, like you mentioned, there are 16, 17 technically people on my season that start out in the house with you. There's a lot of storylines, a lot of coverage, a lot of comps, ceremonies, and game talk. And so, unfortunately for me, CBS's prime priority wasn't showcasing all of my jokes. Damn it. So, I mean, that kind of sucks because I was hoping that people, I guess this is how I saw it. I was going on Big Brother to win $500,000. I wanted to play the game. And unfortunately for the season I was placed on, it didn't really matter how I played the game because Paul was always going to have the upper hand. It just didn't matter. Yeah. So my game playing, that was kind of a moot point. So just, who cares? But the other reason I wanted to be on Big Brother was a lot of why I wanted to be in radio to begin with. I wanted to let people escape from reality and let me do it with them. And if they're having a bad day at work or going through a breakup or going through a shitstorm, I could be their little escape and the girl that they can see on TV or hear on the radio or on a podcast, whatever, and relate to me and be like, she's funny, and kind of give them a break from their bummer of a reality and reach people. So I think I'm a little salty and disappointed that I didn't really get to play the Big Brother game I wanted to play, and that I didn't reach as many people as I wanted to in that way. But at the end of the day, I mean, it works out the way it's supposed to work out. And I still came out of the experience with a boyfriend, which is cool, and a huge platform and following, and a number of people that did see my heart and see my personality and my wit and my charm and learn to love me. And like you mentioned before, I was formerly in radio and podcasting, and I hope to do it again. And with that platform, I hope those followers are intentional ones and they follow me over to a podcast of my own, and I can continue to do that and try to reach and maintain that goal of just being a cool chick that people like to listen to and can make them laugh.
One of the most epic moments I have ever seen on television was when I was watching Big Brother After Dark, which airs midnight on Pop TV. Check your local listings for the channel number. They didn't pay me for that. I just like the show. You were in a showmance with another house guest and recent guest of the show, Mark Jansen. You and Mark were breaking up, and Jess and Cody were breaking up in another room. And I was sitting there watching all of this happen live, and it sounds kind of sadistic to say it, but I'm sitting there eating my popcorn watching this, and I couldn't get past the fact that I'm watching these deeply emotional moments happening, and it's hard to explain, but you guys, you're real people. Well, I'm not watching.
Yeah, people forget that a lot. People forget that we're human. It's like slips their mind. I don't see how, but it's a big point people forget about.
That's what I was trying to bring myself to grips with, was each of you, your hearts were all breaking. I mean, just because you're splitting up doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, no matter who's breaking up with who. Also, they were such different stories. You and Mark had a whole different conversation,
totally different
than the other two. And the weird part was Cody and Jess, it was the exact opposite, where Mark kept trying to get you to not leave. Cody just kept saying, yeah, well, I'm just not the guy for you, which seems so weird. And then thankfully Cody and Jess got back together before the end of the episode, and the same didn't happen with you and Mark, but it did work out in the end. So I'm glad that happened, and thankfully all of you are still together to this day.
And thankfully nobody has to watch me break up with Mark once a week either anymore. That's really helpful that we have the privacy finally to just do it in our own home and not have an audience. That's great. One of the blessings coming off of TV is you can just take shits and go through breakups without an audience. But yeah, no, it's a weird thing. Me and Mark were actually talking about it yesterday, and how strange our relationship is in every aspect. And with that comes a lot of different things. Number one, regardless of watching us break up on television or having viewers tune in to crazy, weird, sad, intimate moments and him pursuing me and me pushing him away, because we have this tiny level of fame and we have this platform post show and a lot of followers, and might I remind all the listeners here that people don't post their hardships on the internet. They post their highlights. So people see our highlights and they're like, oh my God, y'all are the best couple goals. If you guys don't work out, love isn't real. And I'm like, damn, that's a lot of pressure.
Yes,
like, we're just, again, normal people who have a normal relationship and have the same kind of fights that other people who weren't on TV have. And it's just funny. We're just perceived completely differently. And the other aspect of that's strange is we were kind of talking about our families and their investment in our relationship, not just our fans. And what a weird thing it is for me to come off of Big Brother and meet people that are close to Mark and important in his life who have all seen a certain side of me, but I don't know them at all.
Yeah.
And how weird and strange it is for people to just watch our intimate moments, like everyone, but also like our friends and family. I mean, my friends make fun of me all the time for the moments they had to fast forward through of me and Mark just like making out on Pop or Live Feed or even CBS. Like, they're like, that's so weird. Like, I love you and you're my best friend, but like, I don't want to watch you just zoomed in, like zoomed in camera with our microphones like hooked right to our collar, just sloppy, loud, making out sounds. It's just such a strange thing that we went through.
Speaking of Mark, he helped me lose 24.6 pounds in 6 weeks. He's doing another program called Fall in Love with Fitness. You can learn more by going to markjansenfitness.com. I'll have a link to that in the show notes. It's an 8-week program, and it's only $60, so there's nothing to lose except for unwanted pounds. And talking about special diets, in the Big Brother house, there are people who are only allowed to eat a very specific food for the week. They're called have-nots. It changes week per week depending who is in power. Another person that you were in the house with named Kevin admitted to sneaking cookies while he was a have-not. Did you know about that?
Oh, totally. Kevin got away with everything. He's like the JC of this season. He just kind of, you don't even always understand what he's saying either, but he just talks and you kind of, you know that you're not going to disagree with him no matter what. So you're just like, yeah, of course. That's great. And somehow, anytime we had an alcohol delivery, or no matter who the HOH was, when we had limited alcohol, somehow Kevin always got his own beer, where we had like 12 of us splitting 6 beers among us all, but Kevin got his own. I just don't understand. He got away with everything. I mean, he made it to Final Four with not even really knowing where he was. You know, I don't understand it. He's got the mist. I don't know, but he totally snuck cookies, and he was sweet. He would try to sneak me cookies. I was a have-not for 2 weeks straight. He would try to sneak me cookies, and I did the same for him. We would fold each other's towels up, fresh laundry, and put treats inside the towel and like leave it on his bed. And then whenever it was convenient to slip away and get in bed and take your towel under the covers and like slowly sneak your treat. Oh gosh.
That was my next question. I was going to ask if you or anybody else did anything like that when they were have-nots.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, they watch you super closely, and it's funny now that I'm out of the experience and I've pulled up live feeds or seen clips, being far more invested in the show than I ever was before. Now that I'm a former house guest, I'm seeing these house guests in the house now, and they think they're being so sneaky. They're like talking in code or kind of just doing something. Like, it's like, dude, we all see it. Like, it's really obvious. And it's funny to watch them, but I'm also having a little bit of self-awareness in the fact that that was me just a measly little year ago. People were making fun of me for thinking that I was getting away with undercover conversations or sneaking food around. Like, I remember one time when I was a have-not and someone had made cookies and I was just getting super close to the tray of them, smelling them. And I was trying to kind of like lick my finger and just touch the pan and get some crumbs and put it like slowly back in my mouth. And they were like, Big Brother was like, no, that ain't gonna fly. Like, I was getting called out over and over again for even attempting a crumb. But I did one day successfully sneak a Kit Kat bar from someone's HOH basket it was a long play. Like I had to get it from the HOH room. I think it had been like the HOH who got it didn't want it. So it was maybe from like a week or two before. And it was somewhere else in the house. And I like moved it into my sweatshirt and then put it in a bag. And then like a few hours later, like moved the bag somewhere else, like replaced the Kit Kat bar. And then like the next day, like took the bag into the restroom and like it sat on the toilet among so much urine and ate my Kit Kat bar. And at that exact moment, a producer came over the intercom and announced that it was like our halfway party or like our whatever, they were doing something for us. And so they turn off live feeds and they bring in pizza and pasta and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was the only have-not that week, and it landed on my week that I was the only one, and they let me eat. So I was sitting in there like shoving a Kit Kat bar in my mouth, hating my timing of it because I was like, dang it, I'm about to get to eat fettuccine Alfredo for like 30 minutes. And I could have saved this Kit Kat bar for tomorrow. But yeah, I definitely, I had a couple moments of weakness and sneaking around.
You were one of the few people who was pretty much on all season, even though you weren't in the house the whole season. You were in the jury house. So I'm sure you have a million stories. What's one of the funniest moments that you can remember from the Big Brother house?
From the Big Brother house or from the jury house or just the whole experience?
Either one.
I like telling jury house stories because no one saw those.
Yeah.
I have some funny moments that I love from Big Brother. There was a day that Ramses and I was wearing Mark's sweatshirt and he got in the back of it with me, you know, because it's not small. And he played my arms and I told this crazy wild dream that I had the night before and he just did the arms of it and acted it out. And we stood in the backyard and I could see myself in the reflection of the sliding glass door. And I don't know why this was our setup, but our audience of people were standing inside the house, kind of with the door open. And I couldn't even make it through the story because I'm watching him do the hands. And I thought it was just the funniest thing ever. There was another moment that was strange for me in the Big Brother house that ended up being one of my favorites. And I posted it on my Instagram recently. It's in my highlights for Big Brother. But there was just a perfectly placed, perfectly timed series of farts that came from Cody, and the way that it worked out, my reaction and his fart timing is unmatched. Like it could never be replicated. I don't know how it happened to begin with. And it's seriously, it was disgusting and it haunts my dreams, but also like very, very funny. But one of my favorite jury house moments is screaming at the top of my lungs on a film day that I hated everyone.
Wow.
Just had like number one, no one there is voting for me to have $500,000, so I could give a fuck's less. And Raven ate some of my soup, and we only got good food like once a week. And I was looking forward to my damn soup, and she ate my soup. And I came downstairs, and I just screamed that I hated everyone, and like calmly went back upstairs. And like there's like poor little production assistants and like interns and these like cameramen that are hired for like one day a week and not even certain what Big Brother is. And I just like lost my shit.
Well, on the flip side of the funniest moments, what was one of the gumpiest moments that you had in the Big Brother house?
Gumpy.
I should probably explain that for listeners if you haven't seen the show.
This moment right now is gumpy.
There was a
Paul jargon.
There was a guy named Paul who used Gumpy to describe things he didn't like. And that was probably the worst word I ever heard anybody try to get other people to say in a very long time. It was rough to listen to.
It is the same. Rough to live with. One of my worst moments in the house was the week I got evicted, and I knew I was coming up on eviction. I got out on a double, so it wasn't your typical Big Brother timeline. It all happened in 30 minutes instead of 7 days. Yay me! But I knew that I was a target. I knew I was at the bottom of the pool of people in the house. And I got in a huge fight with Josh in the kitchen, which was actually very enjoyable. But whilst I was doing that, Alex was fighting with Mark or trying to and saying things that were untrue about how I felt about him and things that I had said about him. And I could only hear half of it, in the moments I took a breath between screaming at Josh. And for the next 2 hours, Mark was nowhere to be found. Alex was HOH that week. So, and I had just gotten in a fight with her essentially too in the kitchen. So I wasn't really trying to invite myself into her private HOH bedroom, which I now know is where Mark was listening to music. And I couldn't find him. And there's really there's not a lot to the house. There's a downstairs and upstairs and a backyard 3 days a week. And so I circled that place. I went to the bathroom. I would check the laundry outside just over and over and over again. I couldn't find Mark. And I just had no idea if he took what Alex said to heart and believed her and was upset and mad at me. I was just convinced that he was, because he didn't come talk to me after my big fight. And so I just was kind of filled with panic and fear. And I think that was the moment I first realized that I cared more about how Mark felt about me and if he was hurt by that than I did about what was left of my big brother game.
Wow.
And that was a tough moment for me, because I realized, number one, the big fight and explosive conversation I just had probably sealed my fate for the next eviction. Also, I might be losing my best friend in the house too. But luckily it was chill. I just had to panic for a couple hours, but he was fine. He was like, "Oh no, I didn't believe her." And I was like, "Thanks for letting me sweat it out, man."
You bringing up Josh, that made me think of a question that I didn't have on my list of things to ask, but I have to ask while I have you here. What was it like? Because I know you guys weren't the biggest fan of Josh. How hard was it to choose between Josh and Paul? I mean, I know you absolutely did not want Paul to win, but it had to be hard to vote for Josh too, or was it?
Yeah, you're not wrong, but I also think that once you're in the Big Brother house and you experience the game and feeling 100% invested in this thing, that's the only thing we had going on in our lives. And I try to explain that to the consumers of the show. No matter how big of a fan you are, you still have something else going on in your life where you're turning off CBS, you're turning off Pop, you're turning off live feeds, you're going to work, you're texting your friend, you're doing something else. But that consumed us for 4 months. So voting for anyone but yourself is difficult. Mm-hmm. And I don't care who you are. If you're in the house, you think you have the chance to win and you believe in yourself and you want to be there standing in final two. Mark and myself are both super competitive people and don't really take to losing very kindly. So it's hard to vote for anyone that's not you. But yeah, it was tough. I didn't leave the house on good terms with Josh, but I also, the way I saw it was a couple of things. Josh was never on my team. He never made me promises and betrayed me. And the argument a lot of people have for that is, well, that's Big Brother. If Paul said he was on your team at one point and made you a promise and stabbed you in the back, well, that's the game. Yes, you're not wrong. But I just felt like there was some unnecessarily poor behavior and cheap shots and things that weren't game related, that didn't have to play into the game that happened and came from Paul, and I didn't respect it. And then I also didn't respect that he didn't own up to anything he did when we questioned him on finale night. If you didn't watch his gameplay, which was beautiful, he played a great game in a lot of ways, aside from some bad behavior. But if you didn't watch the game at all and you just heard him talk on finale night and answer our questions, it's like he got there by accident. He was like, "I don't know, I didn't do that. No friendship and boys, and I didn't do anything gumpy." But I'm like, at least own up to it. Tell me what you did. Tell me that was part of your strategy. I would have respected the move more. But yeah, Josh's gameplay was completely different. He kind of just played up to being the biggest target and chaotic, and we can get him out anytime. And it floated him all the way to the end, and good for him. But he also fooled us a little bit. He was a super fan and we had no idea. We thought he was a big dumb idiot.
he was that season's Fussell.
Yeah, exactly. I was convinced he just had no idea where he was, what was going on. He did a good job convincing us. He'd be like, "Well, what's this? What does that mean?" And now I've seen some of his DR sessions, and he's talking about past players and this strategy and that. Like, I was like, oh, damn, like you had some idea what was going on for sure. But yeah, they just played completely different games, and it wasn't easy not winning the whole thing myself, but definitely wasn't super easy in that moment either, voting for Josh. Just, he wasn't a friend. I left on bad terms with him, so it wasn't fun to vote for him either. But that's the game. Had to do it if I wanted my stipend.
I want to thank you for voting against Paul, because I was watching the season finale and I almost turned it off. I have watched the entire 3 months of the show, and the last hour I almost didn't watch because I was so angry. There was not much of a doubt in my mind he was going to win. And when he lost, I think I cheered louder than I ever did for any Super Bowl. So, thank you for that.
It's funny. That's we get that a lot. It's just a lot of thanks for not voting for Paul. But then there's also the flip side of the people that are big Paul fans or like appreciate the authenticity of like the game, and we're wrong for not voting for the better gamer and all this stuff, and the people that get mad at us for, quote, being bitter. It's an interesting life living on the internet after a reality TV show where people don't agree with everything you did. But yeah, it's funny. I mean, we'll even get it walking down the street, like, thanks for not voting for Paul. You're like, cool, you're welcome.
What gets me is a lot of people have this thing about Big Brother where they talk about how scripted it is and things like that. And if anything, you guys voting for Josh proved how human this show is, because you voted clearly with your heart. I mean, whether people like that or don't, I personally loved it. But it's a human moment where if someone screws you over, it's hard to reward them, even if it's a game or not.
A lot of people are comparing Tyler's game this season to Paul's game last season, and there are some parallels. There are. But Tyler is not doing anything unnecessarily hateful to anyone. So far in the game, he's remained loyal to the people he's made promises to, aside for that, like, kind of bullshit fussy Haley thing. And even still, he wasn't the HOH to put him up. But he's coming across a genuine guy. And I'm very curious to see what it's going to look like for him and for the rest of the house, and the dynamic between some of these people when he does end up having people that he's made deals with. But there's just always a different dynamic. There's always a different twist in the game. There's always something, just a different personality you're dealing with. Like, people love to watch the show and tell me what I should have done or how I was wrong. And I'm like, there is no part of me that puts any stock in that, because no one understands what it was like or saw every single moment. I mean, we're in lockdowns. That's not on live feeds. Like, not every room is on live feeds. Like, people miss conversations and moments. And the first 10 to 12 days, whatever it is, in the house. And a lot of important stuff in relationships are built and broken in some of those times. And people just don't understand what the experience really is like. So yeah, we're people. And I've actually really enjoyed watching some tweets. Like, Swaggy from the season tweeted the other day. He was like, I've always, or even Haley in the house was talking about the same thing. Like, I've always hated people that were bitter jurors and that didn't vote for the game and stuff like that. And now they're saying, well, shoot, now that I've experienced it, I get it. Like, Swaggy's like, I'd be a bitter as hell juror. And Haley's saying the same thing. It's hard to not let some of that stuff be personal, because at the end of the day, it is personal. That's just because it's a game doesn't mean it's not happening to our real life. And our relationships in the house, game related or separate from the game, are very real. I mean, I have a live-in boyfriend for the last year that came from a game. Like, that's how real it is. These are not fake feelings. So, but it sucks. Like you were mentioning, it being scripted, like, producers have a hand in it too. And that's the another side of it that's not very fair. I personally feel like Paul, and not at his own fault, it's not like he could control this either, but I feel like Paul got some handouts that were not really fair. And it sucks to be on his season, let me tell you.
I think the audience felt that way too, and I think that's what's turned a lot of people against him early on. I think they probably would have turned anyway because of the way he was playing, but once he got, 19 weeks of protection or something right off the bat.
Yeah, I think it was 19 weeks. Yeah, you nailed it.
It was pretty I don't know. It just really felt one-sided, and I don't think people like that. Like I said, it's hard to root for somebody when you feel like the deck is stacked for them. Everybody wants to root for the underdog. And that clearly was not Paul. But going back to this season, who do you think will be in the final three?
For this current season?
Yeah.
I would love to see the final three be Tyler, Brett, and Casey. I think I would be equally entertained with Tyler, Brett, and JC. I think that would be an interesting thing. I'm not a huge Angela fan, but I could see how that would be an entertaining final 2 or 3 too. But Brett is just funny as hell. I did not like him at first, and he's become my favorite person to watch in the house.
I'm in the same boat. His speeches are just amazing. It's great.
Oh, truly. Yeah, he's kind of playing like the Josh thing, just taking advantage of the fact that everyone feels like he's the biggest threat or target. Like, oh, we got to get rid of this guy, but also like if we keep him, he remains the guy that the next HOH wants to get out, and kind of just causing chaos and sitting in the middle of it and letting everything else like go wrong around him. I mean, Tyler's playing pretty seamlessly and has a great social game, doing great with jury management. And JC's blind confidence is hilarious. He thinks that he's kind of running the whole house. Yeah. And he does have some good, crazy ideas here and there, and does have some influence like over Fessel and stuff. But I think he thinks he's a major player in the level 6 side among those people, and they don't have any loyalty to him when it comes down to him against someone that's actually an official member of the level 6 alliance. So some of those things are interesting, and I just like Casey as a person. I can't help it.
One of my favorite moments of the season is, unfortunately, it was against somebody who was one of my favorite players. It was Caitlin. I loved her from the second she walked in the house. But Brett was doing a speech where he did the thing where he got a hit. And he was just so overly animated. And it was one of the funniest, most shocking speeches that I've ever seen when somebody was up on the block. It was incredible. And before that, I really didn't like Brett, especially when Winston was in the house. But after he did that speech, it totally swayed me, and he's just been knocking it out of the park ever since.
I know. I love him, and I feel like an unpopular opinion. I love Caitlin too. I was very disappointed to see her go, but also like selfishly kind of excited because now her and I are friends, and she's actually doing Mark's fitness program. So we've been talking to her all day because today's the first day of his program officially. And she's doing it with us. But yeah, I love Caitlin too. I actually was telling Mark earlier that I think she's going to become like a legitimate, genuine, really good life friend for me. I just feel like once we started talking, her and I had a really good connection. And I'm glad to hear that you liked her too, because she was so hated. It killed me. I'm like, guys, appreciate how entertaining she is.
Exactly.
Please. This is gold.
She was so amazing. Another one of my favorite moments of the year, and every one of my favorite moments is unfortunately bad for her, but she was in the geometry room, and she was crying, talking about how Fessy screwed her over. And they were having this argument. Well, he was kind of arguing with her, and she was just laying down crying. Then all of a sudden the camera switches, and Sam has this huge smile on her face, walks through the door and says, "Who wants to see my HOH room?" it was just such a bizarre change of scenery, going from this
just
poor
good
woman.
Timing.
Yeah. But no, Caitlin was awesome. I'll be honest, I was wondering if the season was even going to be good without her. And
I had some fears as well. I was like, canceling live feeds. There's no point in watching anymore. But luckily, I think that around that time is when like Brett kind of stepped it up, because it was, I like Winston a lot, but he definitely is a little bit more likable in the house and forced to interact with other people more now that Winston has been gone. So luckily Brett stepped it up for me, and now I'm still entertained. But I do miss Caitlin.
I'd like to get her.
There's a whole level of drama missing without her.
Exactly. And I'd like to have her on the podcast someday, because
Oh, you need to.
Yeah, she would be great. The thing about her is, as much as I loved her in the house, I like her even more outside of the house because she got so much shade thrown on her, but she's been able to keep her head up and just laugh it off. And it's amazing. Yeah. I don't think I could do it. She just seems like a great person.
She is. She's awesome. I'll connect you guys.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I would.
I'll force her to be on your podcast.
Well, I appreciate that. I know you got a lot of stuff going on, so I'm going to let you go, but I want to make sure you're able to plug some of your social media. So where can people find you online?
Yeah, I am just Elena Davies, as we confirmed at the beginning of this interview, everywhere. And it's ElenaDavies. It's Twitter and Instagram. And if you type it into the Facebook machine, you'll find me there too. And then hopefully here pretty soon, I'll be starting to plug my own podcast on social media, and maybe I can steal some of your listeners.
All right. And I would love to have you on when that launches and we can tell people the name of the show and what's going on.
Yes. I'm so excited. I'm like halfway done getting stuff. Like I know the name, but I need to figure this out. And I know what I'm going to do with this, but I've got, so I'm super, super excited to just blow it up and tell everybody my half-assed ideas. But I'm having to practice that patience thing and wait till it's all finalized. So, but I'm really excited about it.
That's hard to do sometimes. Well, thanks again for being on the show. I'm going to take a quick break and I'll be back.
This is Mark Jansen from Big Brother 19 and MarkJansenFitness.com, and you are listening to We Don't Have Cookies.
I'm glad we're moving on, that we've both gotten over it. Our breakup was pretty bad there for a while. I look back and feel stupid. It's stupid, I was mad. I've been so juvenile. But now that's all over, and peace has been made. And there's just one little thing unsaid that needs to be said. So that time a guy drove by and threw a sandwich at your head. That was me. Last Thursday night when the nightclub said they lost your coat. That was me. Social Security believes that you are dead. Thanks to me, when in the shower you found that tongue instead of soap. Well, that was me. That was me. I feel really good. The truth is coming out, and I'm just glad we didn't let things go too far. I may have spent $591.18 ruining your life, but I can't afford to let our friendship fall apart. Thank God that's all over. The pain's at an end, and we can be happy as friends. I think enough time has passed that we can look back and laugh. I know I can. The last 3 chapters of all your books that were all torn out. That was me. Who signed you up for the Scientology mailing list? That was me. Somebody peed in your Brita. And that somebody was me. And who wrote that email virus hoping it would get to you? And I'll bet it did. That was me. That was me. Someone told you I was sorry in a note left on your door. That was my roommate, and because of that, he's no one's roommate anymore. I think we've learned a lot from this. God knows I have. 'Cause I've learned how to sign your name and plug your drain and make it rain and plant drugs and drug your plants and shrink your pants, post videos of you throwing up in your hands. And I was responsible for the events of September 11th, 2008, the year somebody stuck a banana in your grandma's tailpipe. And when I say tailpipe, I'm really sorry. And that time you thought that there was just one more stare. That was me. And when that guy hit your new boyfriend with a bat, that was not me. but he did it on my behalf for a fee. That filled in crossword, that was me. Your new car was dirty, someone wrote wash me on the hood with a key and shot your dog into space. And that time you got drunk at the costume party and hooked up with that Japanese dude that never called you back. Hey! And on that online message board, who said you should go rent Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? I didn't think you'd actually do it. That was me, the old me.
Are you enjoying the show but you haven't subscribed yet? What are you waiting for? The podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Sirius XM, Spoke, Spotify, Stitcher, CastBox, and literally anywhere podcasts are available, including YouTube, Roku, and as a skill on Amazon's Alexa-enabled devices. The rest of the year is already booked, and it's going to be great. Subscribe now so you don't miss an episode.
Hi, this is the Australian comedian Monty Franklin. I'm going to be on the podcast next month, so check it out.
The last guest of the episode is the person who was a guest on the very first episode. It's the one and only Mama Kate. How you doing?
Good. Busy season. It's fall. Kids are back in school, so that's good.
Yeah.
You get tired of seeing them around the house.
My kid has been driving me nuts. I love her to death, but I can only imagine if I had 4 or more. Because you got 6 altogether, but one's in college.
Well, she was home for the summer.
Oh, man.
She was home for the summer.
Okay.
I'm like, don't you have any friends? You are the lamest 19-year-old I know. Just you're sitting here watching TV with me every night. Don't you have parties to go to or shenanigans to get into? But no.
I'm glad you brought her up because I have a question I've been wondering for absolutely no reason. It's something that you brought up last year, maybe.
Yeah.
Did you watch the series finale of Annie with her, or did you watch it by yourself?
Oh, of Psych?
Yeah.
Psych?
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I waited and I watched it with her.
Okay.
I did. We watched Psych again this summer together because we just love it.
Nice. The other reason I wanted to have you on the show, well, there's 2 reasons. One is because with all the themed episodes, I'm not going to be able to talk to you till November. So
I don't fit in any. What themes are you having that I can't possibly fit in?
Next month is International Month. So
International? Do you know, I found out that I can actually become an Italian citizen.
Really?
Because my great-grandparents were born in Italy and came to the United States before 1946. I can file to become a dual citizen.
Are you going to do that?
Some of my family is. I'm not.
Is it a big process? I mean, do you just fill out a couple of forms?
No, it's a process. Like I said, some of my cousins are doing it, and it seems like a process.
Okay. I don't know if they have the same kind of bullshit that we put people through, or if it's just kind of like, your grandparents were here, it's cool. But the other reason I wanted to have you on the show is I talked about how John the Songman made a song for you, and I want to make sure the listeners get to hear it, and I want to make sure that they get to hear your reaction to the song. So, here's the song by John the Songman.
My name's Mama Kate, and just so you know, I keep all my friends in shape when I make their days go so great. And just because I do it, it's just because it's like it's going out on a date whenever the show goes on in tip-top shape.
You know, I always thought if someone wrote a song about me, it'd be more satisfying.
Well, I'm sure he's listening. Would you like to sing a song for him? I don't think he would expect you to put too much more in than what he did.
All right. After John hits the bong, he likes to make songs. He never goes wrong with the songs on the bong. He plays his bongos. It never goes wrong-o. Done.
That's the only thing John needs to add to his songs.
Yeah.
The end.
The end. Finished.
I like that. He will be on in November. Maybe you guys can have a sing-off.
Yeah, let's do it.
Kate, we got a call. It's from the unofficial Swiss ambassador to the world, Fran Kissling. She's been on the show a few times, and I'm pretty sure I know what's coming, but we'll go ahead and...
Wait a second.
Uh-huh.
So on International Day, can't I be the unofficial ambassador to the United States? I've also been to Canada once, if that counts.
Have you? We'll see what we can do.
Okay,
we'll have you
all
on
right.
the... I'm doing another bonus episode on the 30th of next month, which will be a Sunday. That's actual International Podcast Day.
Oh.
So maybe you can be the official representation of
the United States of America.
All right, Fran, are you there?
Hello, Jason. Who is your guest on this episode?
My guest today is Mama Kate.
Mama Kate in the house.
That is not a Swiss name.
You're right.
But I have faith in you.
I don't
you
know.
should not have faith in me.
I will now do a Swiss quiz. I will ask you a series of questions.
Mhm.
If your answer is Swiss, you get a Swiss point.
I wonder how many Swiss points I need before I get a knife. I could really use a Swiss knife.
You're very funny.
Thank you.
Switzerland has 4 national languages. Please name them.
Whew. I'm gonna say Swissanese.
Sounds good to me.
And I have no idea. I'm like, I can't even think of 4 languages right now. Swissanese, Swedenese, Flemish. Is that a language? And European. Final answer.
That is not a Swiss answer.
I really thought I had that one.
There is a 500-year-old statue of a man eating a sack of babies in Bern, Switzerland.
Wow.
Why?
I think we'd all like to know the answer to that, Kate.
Originally, Santa would come and eat all the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and then he would poop them out as toys and give them to other kids.
Is that how Krampus started?
Yes. That was the original Santa Claus story.
That's not a Swiss answer.
Shoot.
What year did Swiss troops invade Liechtenstein?
1987, because Liechtenstein had monopolized all of the jam shorts. Final answer.
That is not a Swiss answer. I'm sorry, you have not passed the Swiss quiz. Jason will email you a pamphlet on how to become more Swiss.
And I do have those. I will email that to you.
I was wondering. I'm like, do you really have a pamphlet?
Yeah, and they are very Swiss. They're red and white, and she did a good job with them.
Are they in English?
Yeah. Well, Fran, is there anything that you would like to say before you go?
Goodbye.
Oh, well.
Okay. Well,
They keep it short and sweet.
of all things that you could say before
Yeah.
you go, that's a good
Yeah,
choice.
I mean, that's one of the choices.
I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll be back.
This is Dan the Beast Severn, the only Triple Crown champion in the UFC's no holds barred history. You're listening to Jason Marshall's We Don't Have Cookies. Cookies! I want some cookies!
I'm gonna get laser eye surgery, cause having laser eyes sounds pretty great to me. Beams of coherent light shooting up my eyeballs, levels, roasting my marshmallows or vaporizing rivals. Yeah, I wouldn't mind super strength or x-ray vision, but I haven't seen him advertised on the television. And with great power comes great responsibility. That's why I'll only use them to help humanity. And me, zap, 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 my enemies will fry. Zap, 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 when I have laser eyes. When I have laser eyes, I'll cut through anything. Steel, rock, hard to open packaging. Cut the lawn in seconds, never have to rake it. Won't take out the garbage, just disintegrate it. You will have to do everything I ask. You're an ant, I'm a magnifying glass. Park your car in my spot, zap its molten metal. And if I want some tea, my eyes will warm the kettle. Zap, 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 worship me or die. Zap, 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 you'll fear my laser eyes. I got the operation, guess it don't work right away. Cause I came back home and heard my neighbor playing his music so damn loud it drove me to psychosis. Tried to blast him, nothing happened, though he's never been in better focus. Zap, 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 next time he'll be stir-fried. Zap, 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 come on, laser eyes. Zap, 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 I'm just a normal guy. Zap, 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 who has laser eyes? Laser eyes, I got laser eyes. Laser eyes, I got laser eyes. Laser eyes.
I want to thank my guests Elena Davies and Mama Kate for being on the show today. I had a great time talking to them. I spoke with Caitlin Herman, the person from the current season of Big Brother that Elena and I were talking about earlier, and she said that she would be on the podcast. She can't do it until the current season of Big Brother is over, but I'm looking forward to having her on. If you don't know who she is, I'm not even going to try to describe her because I wouldn't do her justice, but you're going to love her, trust me. September 30th is International Podcast Day, and I'll be putting out a bonus episode with all the international contributors to the show. The guests will be Trevor Strong from the Arrogant Worms and the entire cast of the Wood Enthusiast podcast. All of those guys are from Canada. Fran Kissling from Switzerland, Beej from Australia, Andrew London from New Zealand, Maya will be representing Germany, and hopefully Barnaby Griffin will be on from the UK. That will be a great show. I'm looking forward to putting that one out. And since September 30th is International Podcast Day, the entire month of September is International Podcast Month here on the podcast with guests from around the world. I'll be kicking things off with the return of the podcast comedic court episodes called Martial Law. I have some funky People's Court style intro music and the debut of the UFC Hall of Famer Dan the Beast Severn as my bailiff. So it's going to have a whole new feel to it, but one thing that won't be different is who will be on. Resident troublemaker Choo Choo Stew, who I think has been on every episode of Martial Law so far, has been summoned to the highest court in podcasting by Larry Woodstone of the Wood Enthusiast podcast for a statement that Stu made when he was a guest here a few months ago about how he's more of a plastics guy. I hope you had a good time today. If you did, please make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss another episode. The podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, and anywhere podcasts are available, including YouTube, Roku, and as a skill on Alexa-enabled devices. I haven't been bringing this up, but if you have an Amazon device, please enable the We Don't Have Cookies skill and leave a review. That would help a lot. And if you can leave a review wherever you might be listening to this right now, And if the place you're listening to this doesn't let you leave a review, just write something nice about the podcast on the closest wall to you. That's it for this episode. I'll talk to you next week with the return of martial law.
Thanks for listening. Tell your friends about the show and leave a review. See you next time.
I would love to offend someone today.